Oh, that's too bad. But
Check
we are
the
live.
Instagram, boys.
What is going on with your music?
I am monitoring Instagram. 12 people already on Instagram. 20,
24.
25.
Let's get the 30. The music
Maybe we
is
ought to
throwing
say
everybody
something
off.
to the people on Instagram.
Hey, people of Instagram,
Hey,
welcome
Instagram,
to the
welcome
Porch.
to your Sports Porch Pittsburgh edition. Where are the Steelers going? Certainly not up.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you okay, Chris?
Looks like you're prepared for the show
Yeah.
tonight, Chris.
Yeah. I don't know. I am very prepared. Okay. Thanks, guys. I listen, if you're watching on Instagram, thank you so much for being here. This is our first show on Instagram.
This is
Love
our
it to death.
inaugural
This is the
Instagram
Sports
show.
Porch, the Sports Porch Pittsburgh. We are live right now all over the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram on Pittsburgh Beautiful. And we dropped the podcast right after the show. Right after the show, we dropped the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. And where can you find us? Yes, it was. ThePorchIsLive.com, ThePorchIsLive.com.
ThePorchIsLive.com.
Synchronized as
That's
usual.
what we do.
Synchronized as usual. This is dangerous. We do have a line open, 412-805-7236.
One line open.
Yep. Okay. So what are we going to do? Obviously, it's black and gold. You know, it's the Porch. It's the Porch in Pittsburgh. We're going to talk about the Steelers. All I have to do, like I said in the headline of this thing, is all I have to do is say Mike Tomlin, and I can like start a bar fight right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, let's go to our resident Yinzer, Stephen DeFlitch. Steve, give us your state of the team.
DG.
Well, the state of the team is not only in disarray, but I might dare to say the worst it's been in decades.
Finally, you get there.
I did finally get there because, you know, when I said I was all in on this team like 4 weeks ago.
That was the death of the season.
I should have said I'm all out on this team because that was the zenith of their season. They were 7-3. Everything looked like it was going great. Yeah, I think they ended up losing to Cleveland, which was a close game. They probably should have won that game, but didn't. It was the ugliest game, I think, of the season, which is saying something.
The DTR game.
And then they go to lose to two-win game teams, and then they managed to get shellacked in Indianapolis. I don't think there's any recovering, honestly, from what just happened in the past 4 games. And as far as Tomlin goes, I mean, I get all the talk about firing Tomlin and that whole thing. And everybody knows how I am about the Steelers and their history. But remember, I said there's no way in hell they're ever going to fire their offensive coordinator. And they did. So, I mean, I think there is hope in the offseason that maybe something will happen with Tomlin. You know, I think actually the best thing that can happen in the offseason, by the way, I don't think the Steelers are making the playoffs. I'm not rooting for them to lose the rest of their game.
I'm glad you feel that way finally, Steve.
But I'm not rooting for them to lose the rest of their games because I'll never root for a Steelers team to lose. But I think they have the 11th pick right now, and if they were to lose their last 2 games, well, really their last 3 games, I'd actually like them to beat Cincinnati just so they can bring Cincinnati to the loser status, not making the playoffs with us. That would make me feel better about the season, but I don't know. I mean, I just don't feel good at all about this team. Their defense has, and I told you this after I watched them play live against New England. Their defense is just awful, and it got worse. And that's despite being almost completely healthy. I mean, they're never getting their linebackers back, but it's just garbage. The team is garbage right now, and
Mm-hmm.
You can't really talk about the postseason because they still technically have a shot at the playoffs. But I think it was something like a 37% chance of making the playoffs. I could be wrong about that percentage.
Let me break in here.
It's bad.
Because
5%.
We have
today.
some
5%.
comments coming in on Instagram that I can't. Unfortunately, I can't put them up on the screen.
JWID 16.
Jwid 16 says
2%.
Tomlin
Thank you,
isn't the
Steelers freak.
issue. Kenny needs to go.
There you go. So I'm going to tell you right now that this thing has gone from a smoky,
Bordering fire. Yeah.
Yes, to an all-out 5-alarm, nuclear fallout blast and anything and everything. It's just degenerated to the point where when you listen to the radio, you hear the hosts, and I haven't heard a host yet that hasn't been like, why are we not firing this guy? And then they're purposely bringing on the media, the national media, to hear them, sing Tomlin's praises. And then they want to argue with them.
Well, I think even the national media has backed off on that this week.
Of course. But my point is there a bigger fire than that? When your media has completely turned against you 100%, and like, they're not just this is my opinion when I listen, they're not just turning on you, they are burning your legacy down by picking it apart and really explaining like why the fact that you have had a winning record every year your entire career is really not that big a deal. They're really tearing it down. And the organization is they're taking it on the chin right now from Steelers fans.
Well, and rightfully so. You can't lose to 2-win teams, and then you can't say that the game on Saturday is a playoff game and then go out and get out to a 13-0 lead and then get 30 points in a row scored on you. That's something has to happen from that. I mean, that's just 3 in a row, each in their own unique way, ridiculously bad, but nonetheless ridiculously bad.
Right. So, and Schwaber, I'll do Yo Carey's comment. The standard is the standard. Yeah, that is Yo Carey.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, that's Yo Carey.
Okay, I don't want standard. I want stellar. You can call out the Instagram comments if you want, Schwaber. He's trying to take over the show. He tried to take over the Philly show. Well, he should take over the Philly show. So
Sissy off Vermont Street says winning record doesn't equate to playoff wins. They need to hear it and do better.
Right.
That's absolutely true. And that's been the problem with this team for some time now. No playoffs wins, no AFC championship games. I mean, you at some point have to say, let's just suck for a while so we can get better. And honestly,
is Steve really saying that?
Dude, listen,
he's on board now.
I've been thinking about this. Yeah. Nowhere else but the NFL can you get better quicker. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers were dumpster fire for a while, right?
Yeah.
And they got a new coach, and that helped, but it didn't get them over the hump because Seattle was still pretty good at the time, right?
Right.
Then all it took was suddenly CMC's available from an owner who's an idiot who gave it to him. Gave him CMC for a 4th-round pick.
What in the hell was that guy thinking? And he's from Pittsburgh.
And on top of that, they get rid of their quarterback and they trade him for some more picks, right? And then they draft a quarterback in the last round with the last pick that turns out to be Tom Brady, the second coming.
Yeah, future Hall of Famer.
And that's it, man. And now they're on top for probably the next 4 years. The way the NFC West looks, the West is pretty much garbage right now. So that's what it takes. You just have to get bad for a little bit, and as long as the standard is winning but not making the playoffs, you're never going to get that. And I do have more faith in the people that are drafting now. Let's face it. The guys who are drafting with Tomlin before Khan came in on board, and the guy from the
Andy
Eagles, Weidel, right? I think now they have a chance at actually drafting good players. Before I would have said, they're just going to spend it on a new shiny toy who will be a head case by year one, by the end of year one, and in year two will be a full blown mental ward candidate. So, but I think the guys that they're drafting now, clearly the three guys they got this year. I mean, I think Broderick Jones, by the way, I'm a big Broderick Jones fan. I think he's taken a step back. He's really not played well the last couple games, and I'd just like to see them put him on the left-hand side so he doesn't have to relearn it next year, and just get this experiment over with Dan Moore on the left-hand side and just ride it out the rest of the season.
Let's bring it back to Tomlin, though.
Yeah,
that's why everybody's watching. So,
look, Tomlin is not going anywhere. I hate to say that, but he's not going anywhere. And if he does, the best thing that can happen is next year they don't give him a contract extension. They say you have to go get both a defensive and an offensive coordinator who are smarter than you, which won't be too hard. And that's the team you're going to run next year. And if you don't like it, then you need to retire. And they have he has to retire.
Instagram comments in, Schwaber. Get some comments in. Steve's just obviously he's very emotional today about this.
Well, Sissy is very involved tonight. Thank you, Sissy. She says, name a quarterback. Well,
as ever,
too many people are making comments. Now I lost Sissy's comment.
Name a quarterback Tomlin has ever coached to be top tier. Makes you question if he's incapable or Ben was the issue for years by not being a leader in that meeting room. Jay Wid says need an elite QB to win in the playoffs. I love this. Brad Trombley on Facebook. I'm tired of Tomlin blowing smoke, trading to Tomlin for picks. I'm sure Washington's ready to make that trade. Hey, listen, Brad, first of all, I applaud you for taking a shot at me and my ties to the Washington franchise. But
he's right, though.
I know, in case you didn't realize.
He is right. They should trade him. This
is
maybe we can get Sam Howell. I heard he's going to make the Hall of Fame.
This is the ridiculous thing, guys. Hear me out. The owner's name is no longer Dan Snyder. I guarantee you, if Dan Snyder was the owner, he would trade for Tomlin. Absolutely. And then he would destroy any legacy Tomlin has. Okay. The fact that they have new ownership, they are not going to trade for Tomlin. You know that already. Maybe they should. I get it, but they won't do it. But if Dan Snyder was around, he would trade for Tomlin and then he would just destroy that guy. So I think that the Steelers franchise has been in trouble ever since Mike Tomlin became the head coach. Now, I know I've been in his corner. When you put it all together right now, I think what has happened is he never had, and this is a comment that was made on Instagram, he never had to draft a quarterback. He never had to develop the number one position on your team. He was blessed with a guy who had just won the Super Bowl, and it doesn't matter what you think about Ben Roethlisberger as a person or a player with the media.
In his prime, too.
The fact is he was great at that time. And Tomlin walked into, God bless him, the best situation you could walk into as a head coach, no matter what. Now, he put together some good defenses over the years. He rode it out with Ben. They won a Super Bowl. They also lost a Super Bowl. But ever since that team started to slowly disappear, they have gone further and further down. And the final nail in the coffin for me was Ben retires. Now what? And you can see exactly what happened. The defense has moments. The offense is horrible. And he's also completely lost the locker room because he lets the players, be themselves.
The inmates are running the asylum.
You got it. And it was only a matter of time. Now, was it a matter of time because the NFL's passing by and we got social media and all that other crap that we talk about all the time? Yeah, could be. Not his fault. I'm not necessarily saying it's his fault. But we got a lot of people chiming in on this. I have a hard time spending money to come to my favorite city to see my favorite team unless they make changes. But you know what, Brad? But you will come to see the hockey Jesus, though. We know that. You've proven it. And the hockey Jesus can't wait to see you again.
Who wants to comment on Pickens and his lack of blocking enthusiasm?
Oh my God! Well, I mean that's
under his feet. You got it. Go ahead, Steve-O.
Well, that's what happens when you're not coaching these guys to go out there and give their all every play, and have them ready to do that. Then those things happen. I mean, we saw it with Deontay the other week. We saw it with Pickens this week. It's like they're basically not being coached to say, go out there and run somebody over every play. Like, look at San Francisco. How many times do you see Ayuk or Debo jostling with some cornerback, no matter what the play is? They don't care. They're out there to compete. And, you know, I remember the bullshit line that Tomlin gave us about Kenny Pickett. Oh, not only is he a great talent, but he's got a high compete level, right? I don't think anybody on this team has a high compete level. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not.
I know what that is.
At the game of football than those two guys. And Bus was at the end of his career. I mean, he had to go out and get a running back. And
are you defending Tomlin right now?
You have to listen till the end. Okay. The problem is, and this is where I'm getting to, the problem is the way he coaches these guys is he lets them be who they want to be. He let them be on social media. He kowtowed to them by letting them fly helicopters or anything in the St. Vincent, however they wanted to show up at St. Vincent. And if they wanted to have their social media guy on the field with them, sure, why not? What's the big deal? The big deal is they don't focus on football. And by the way, this is not just a Steeler problem. I'll tell you this, and I have to get it in. Travis Kelsey is garbage now because he's dating Taylor Swift. The guy is totally not focused on football anymore. All he cares about is what he's going home to. And when that becomes the focus of your life and not the football game you play, your career is over. And I think that's what Tomlin does not stress. You're coming to play football. I need you on the field 24/7. Not just when you're here, but when you go home, you're playing football. When you show up in the morning, when you shower, you're playing Steeler football. And that's the next coach. That's what the next coach has to be. He has to be a guy that makes these players eat, sleep, and drink Steelers football until we win another goddamn Super Bowl.
Okay, so there's a lot in there. Hold on.
Yeah, let me make a comment off of that.
Okay.
I think that's very true. And, obviously you all know that I follow the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why this relates of some importance is because Andy Weidel, who was with the Eagles, is now doing, a lot of the draft picking. And I always remember I saw this program on, their philosophy of who they select. And their number one philosophy was the guy has to love the game of football. They have to eat, sleep, and drink football. And I agree. If you think 10-foot player and he doesn't love football.
Right.
So, it's stuff like that. You gotta, and I think that sometimes what happens is Tomlin gets enamored with kind of the shiny object. And just like, all these years really, it was the Antonio Browns and the Le'Veon Bells and spending less interest on the lines, right? And so we finally got back to the lines a little bit this year. But yeah, Mike Tomlin is obviously a decent coach. But unfortunately to me, I think what actually makes him a decent coach is that over the last several years, he's actually gotten a lot out of teams that weren't really that good, and there is something to that being a good coach. But I also think he wasted so much talent. With Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, with Antonio Brown in his prime, with Le'Veon Bell in his prime, he wasted so much talent.
I just think that I detect a note of maybe a little bit of jealousy on that Travis Kelsey Taylor Swift thing coming from Steve, who we all know. is a
I'm
huge-
I'm happily married. I don't need a thing on the side. Trust
Yeah,
me. I'm
right.
good.
I don't know why he had to deny.
Even if it was a $1 billion thing on the side, I think that's just too much. Too
Wait a
So,
much
minute.
drama.
Steve, did you want to talk to us a little bit about the quarterback position?
The quarterback position. So, yeah, in my head, I was creating a list of quarterbacks that are better than the Steelers quarterbacks. And I'm not talking about the Mahomes, which, by the way, he's low on the list lately because Mahomes hasn't been great either. But I'm talking about the Brownings. Like, dude, where did this guy come from? Joe Flacco essentially is he's the fourth string quarterback for Cleveland. He's clearly better than any of the Steelers that have ever put on a uniform this year, maybe even last year.
Right.
Yep. And you got this Mullins guy. Who is he? He's the third string quarterback from the Vikings. He looks fine. Like he can play the game, right? Even DeVito. And I know, well, I mean, Minshew is kind of a proven commodity. He's been around a little bit. But I mean, like DeVito, like he was 3-1 previous to this past week.
Yeah, and had 7 touchdowns in those games.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how can these guys, and I get some of it is the system that you're in, right? I get it. Like the reason Browning throws for 300 yards is because the Bengals offense is geared around the pass, right? So, but he can still do it. I mean, the guy can do it. I'll even go a step further. Like everybody knows Brock Purdy now, but they didn't know Brock Purdy previous to last year. Right. Like he's another guy that's like, how can he be out there and then get into a system and then turn into just somebody who looks like he can play like that effortlessly every frickin' game? While when Trubisky gets the ball, it looks like 1, he doesn't know how to throw off his back foot. 2, doesn't know how to throw. And 3, just looks scared as hell out there. It's just like, and he's the most expensive backup of all the backups in the NFL. Like where the Steelers are spending their money right now just doesn't look like it makes sense. And you can even say that. I know TJ Watt leads the league in sacks, but what is it really getting us having a guy like that? Same with Binka. The highest paid safety when they gave him the contract. Clearly a Pro Bowl player, but what are these guys bringing in return? Like
nothing.
And then on top of that, I mean, you go get Allen Robinson for like $8 million, and how many catches does he have on the season? 20.
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's just they need to get rid of that kind of garbage. I mean, I get the talk about George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. The reality is you have to have the number 1 and number 2 receiver on the team, and you can't just get rid of those guys, right?
Yeah, you can. They're both horrible.
But the quarterback position, if you look in the aggregate, how much they spend on the position, they could go out and get a better quarterback and just draft rookies to play backup, and they will probably be just as good in a new system. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. First of all, I got to stop you because it was just, it was going really, really long. It was just like, I just think it was incredible. The amount, like finally it all goes back to everything you were saying. It all goes back to Mike Tomlin and any staff that he had in that building for the first 15 years never had to truly evaluate a quarterback. They were always evaluating for a backup. They were always, every quarterback they ever looked at, his entire coaching, head coaching stint was always like, could this guy back up Ben? That was it. He never now when he taps to look for, hold on, let me finish. You went forever. Now he's got to look for that replacement quarterback. And because there's a standard that's been set, pardon the pun on that for real, about a Hall of Famer and playing quarterback for the last 17 years, the bar is set really high. And boy, did they miss it. They missed it on signing Trubisky. They missed it on drafting Rudolph. when they did draft him, and Ben didn't help with that because Ben was pissed off. And it's like, look, dude, you got a couple years left. They completely missed it, and they missed it with Kenny Pickett. And I'm, I was the biggest Kenny Pickett cheerleader, but they missed it with Kenny Pickett. This all comes down to the fact that Mike Tomlin can't evaluate offensive players like the quarterback, not necessarily because yes, Le'Veon Bell, AB in his prime was a 5th round draft pick or something, and
6,
or 6, yeah. So right, I mean, you get lucky, man. You get lucky once in a while, but it's time for him to go. It really is. I think he could be successful somewhere else. I really do. I
think the only chance he has to be successful somewhere else is if he walks into another elite quarterback, maybe like if he gets the San Diego job with Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
that's it.
I love when a doctor agrees with you, you're onto something. Preach, Klein. You were right on, as says the doctor. CD. Frank Steelers freak. Sorry, says bad scouting, bad coaching, player development, bad execution. The Steeler trifecta. How about an Instagram comment or two, Schwab? If you can catch up with it. If you can, I can.
Yeah, I can't catch up.
Brandon, BRNDNON. I'm guessing that's Brandon. Says evaluate or develop. It should have started before Ben left. You're right. They failed the organization by not succession planning, one of Steve's favorite shows. So yeah, and as far as the Pickens and Deontay Johnson thing go, I think they totally missed the ball there as well. Yes, the guys, obviously anybody you draft on an NFL team has NFL skills. Okay, so we could sit here all day long and say, well, they both have talent. Look, they're both immature assholes who are only out for one thing and one thing only, and that is to make money. Congratulations, Deontay, you did that. And get mines. That's it. They don't have the Heinz Ward mentality, and they never will. But there are some players that do. You look at guys like Deebo Samuel and CMC. Yeah, they're CMC generational players, but they got that team mentality. Because they know they're going to get paid. They've got it in reverse.
The one thing I will say, though, is there's nothing wrong with taking a chance on somebody who's got that talent, but you have to be able to coach to it, and you have to have some level of accountability. Now, look, right. I'm not saying that this would solve all the problems, right? But why not? You don't dress Pickens in the next game. Make it real for him. And then you know what? If he wants to complain and get me out of town, then fine, we'll trade you at the end of the year. But why not do something like that to let him know that this is not acceptable? Because all I can tell you is right now what's going on is they're watching the tape in the film room the day after or 2 days after. And, everybody's looking at it and they're just like, well, is anybody going to say anything? And maybe something is said, but there's no consequence to it.
Yeah, it seems that way. DG is back. Hey, DG. Tomlin is ultimately responsible for enabling all of these clowns who continually dog it on the field. Where's the veteran leadership? I've seen Cam Hayward, who is, old chase a runner 20 yards downfield while Pickens felt snubbed by the Pro Bowl. Right. And Brandon on Instagram says Tomlin doesn't have the locker room, which is clear in the fact that Pickens doesn't help or block downfield. They don't care about the team. They only care about themselves and their stats. Yes. I've lived here 30 years, and I was telling Schwaber before the show and before you showed up, Steve, that in my 30 years of living here, this is the biggest fire that has ever been lit under the Steelers organization. In my 30 years, I'm sure. I mean, I just remember Cowher coming in and, we went through kind of a swing with them, and then he finally, he was able to grab the Holy Grail, and then he kind of had a couple down years, and then he retired into the sunset, and Tomlin came on board. This is the most vitriol I have heard from the Steelers base in my 30 years of being here. And got to say hi to Kyle. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, Kyle?
He wants us to have a show on Christmas. Yeah, seriously, Kyle. Come on. I think I'm going out to dinner with Kyle on Wednesday night. I think me and the Diva are going out to dinner with him. So,
well, I think one thing that, I understand what you're saying about Tomlin, But let's face it, Cowher had been pretty much his whole career too. I mean, he had Neil O'Donnell there at the beginning, and he had to kind of suffer through Tom's back.
And Tommy Maddox.
I think he had like 2 years of Ben, didn't he, or 3? 3 years.
No, he had all the Super Bowl years with Ben. So all I'm saying is that
Tomlin. I thought you spent Cowher.
Cowher, yeah.
Cowher had his rookie season, the second year that they won the Super Bowl, the third year that they screwed up, and then he was gone and went to Tomlin.
No.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. What you're trying to say is Tomlin had a problem too, and
no. What I'm saying is that most NFL coaches have a problem with replacing Hall of Fame quarterbacks. This is what he should have done is he should have hired an offensive coordinator who he felt comfortable who could do it, because clearly as a defensive guy, he has no idea how to bring on a young quarterback in today's NFL, especially. Right. And I think that's where he messed up. Like, I would never expect like Coach Tomlin as a defensive coordinator, a guy in the league for 17 years, to be able to bring on a rookie quarterback into the NFL by himself. But I did expect him and the Rooneys to say, you need to go get an offensive coordinator who will grow with Kenny Pickett. If that means it's past when you will be here, Coach T, then so be it, because the franchise is more important than you are as the head coach. And that's, I think, where the failure is in this whole thing. I mean, I think it's easy to, look, we blame Canada for everything, right? The offense got worse without Canada, by the way. The scoring got worse. The total yards got worse, except for that one game. But since then, it's been garbage. So I think to make scapegoats out of people and coaches like that is a bad idea, because you're just going to keep pointing the finger at the next man up. And that's not what you need to do. You need to look at the organization as a whole and say, you make these changes, you get an offensive coordinator, you get a defensive coordinator that are worth a damn, or you're out. It's really that simple. I think it's that simple. Mm-hmm. And the only people who can do that are the Rooneys. And if the Rooneys don't have that conversation with it, then, maybe guys like Brad are right. Maybe you shouldn't travel to Pittsburgh to come see a crappy team that's only going to score 7 points while the other team, and while they complain about the refereeing or whatever it is they do.
By the way, I was correct. Cowher had 3 years of Ben.
There you go.
Ben drafted in 2004. Cowher coached till 2006.
There you go, Steve-O. Okay, I want to give a shout out real quick.
2 Super Bowl years and 1 undefeated year for Ben.
Okay, here's DG. DG, big friend of the show. Cowher was there when Tommy Maddox went down, and then with a dumbed down offense, Ben won a ton as a rookie until Brady came in and killed us. Yeah, I actually
did his way.
Yeah, he did.
Listen, I got to give a shout out here. I just want to say, first of all, that before our Philadelphia show, you guys who watch the Pittsburgh show all the time, we do a show in Philly too, because Schwaber down there is the Grand Schwabini. He lives in Pittsburgh, but he's from Philly, and he's a big time Philly fan, but he's also a Pittsburgh fan. But anyway, we do that for him. So he sent me 3 pages of notes before the Philly show. 3 pages of notes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And all I could think about the whole time is these guys, they finally get it. This is the kind of preparation I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Because
here's my notes for today.
There you go. Well, go ahead.
And you seemed very prepared at the start of this show.
I but it's all about the notes. Like now,
here, do you want to read my notes? These are my notes for today.
Alex's raspberry lemon ale, Sly Fox. There you go.
That does sound very tasty.
You should try it, Mark. You would like it.
DG is, I'm not going to put this comment out, but DG is saying 3 pages of notes on how to get the intro music to play. Yes. But see, that what I'm saying is now you guys know, like I go through a lot. We know you're an engineer. You take notes, Hockey Jesus. We know that's over the top. You're starting to really believe your own hype.
All right. In sum, Steelers bad.
That's
in
right.
some, what are the Steelers going to do? Are they going to break Cincinnati's hearts this weekend?
Or are they
Absolutely not. We didn't even talk about Mason Rudolph. We didn't even talk about Mason Rudolph.
Oh,
He
Mason
was
Rudolph
starting.
is starting this week,
Yes.
and there will
Yeah.
be no difference in the offense. There, that was easy.
It's going to be god awful. Okay, we got to move on. We got to move on. Our NFL picks are coming up now.
All right, Ken, let's go. Let's go for some pizza. I'm
Steve
down.
was
I'll meet you there.
last week. Mark was 4-0.
30 and 13.
Steve was 2-2, and I was 1-3.
I'm just
So
trying
I'm now
to keep my head above
Chris
500.
is 17 and 260.
And 260.
260.
So we want to know what your pick is, because we're going to give you our picks right now. Thursday night.
Yes,
Saints
Kyle. Mason
at
Rudolph
Rams.
is the name of Santa's reindeer.
It's just like the hockey Jesus, where maybe you ought to take a sip of that beer there.
Saints.
I was going to say
Rams.
I was going to ask a question about beer and man buns. I think the Diva's home, by the way. Yeah, I see Sassy going crazy. Thursday night, Saints at Rams.
I will take the horned animal.
I think
Rams.
it's going to be the Rams.
Okay, Saints at Rams. Steve and Mark. I'm going with the Saints because, first of all, why not? And second, I actually believe the Rams are just teasing everybody right now. Okay, next. Maybe we got some picks coming in here. McSorley is on deck. Yeah, no. If you got a pick, give us your picks. All right, next Sunday night, Patriots at Broncos.
I will take the unicorn. The Bronco.
Broncos. All right.
Bronco. How did you get unicorn out of Bronco?
It's a horse.
It's
yeah,
horse
I think I like Denver at home. They're a much better team at home.
Okay, so Steve and Mark are taking the Broncos. So you know what I'm doing.
Oh, baby. Sorry.
All right, Sunday's game, Dolphins, Cowboys. Cowboys at the Dolphins.
I will take the fish. Tyreek Hill is back. The cheetah.
Yeah. Steve?
Cowboys need a win.
He's going girls again.
Steve always takes the Cowboys.
He does.
I'm gonna go with Mark on the Dolphins because at least I keep pace, and I actually think the Dolphins are gonna win that game. And I hate the Cowboys, and everybody knows that. All right, we got 5 comments here that I want to get to here, and it looks like most of them are Kyle. Well, Kyle is taking the Saints, the Pats, duh. Tom Brady doesn't play anymore. CD's taking the Broncos. Kyle's taking looks like the Dolphins.
He's taking Summer.
He's taking a palm tree, it looks like.
At home.
He's taking Hawaii.
Palm tree and a wave.
And a good half pipe.
And some tasty buds.
I think that's a
Name
shark.
the movie. Name the movie.
That wasn't any good. I have been watching a lot of vacation movies lately. Okay, let's talk about something that is near and dear to our heart right now. This is the hockey Jesus, who is up there.
Wait, we're only picking 2 games?
No, we picked Cowboys at Dolphins, Patriots at Broncos, and Saints at Rams.
I got confused because we picked 4 last week. My bad.
That was the effect of the Alex's summer raspberry.
I know. I'm out. I'm empty. I need another one.
Lord. All right. Hockey Jesus preaches on the podcast after every single Penguins game. We're gonna have one tonight, right?
You're gonna get one in about 45 minutes. Yeah.
So hockey Jesus.
What is the live update? What's the live update?
Well, yeah, for those of you who are not watching the game, close your ears because I'm about to do a spoiler alert. The Penguins are currently winning 3-0 against Minnesota, and they have a power play goal.
Oh, there you go.
Let me guess. Gensel.
You could coach.
No, Carlson.
Oh, okay.
Although Gensel was in front, it looked like he might have tipped it, but they didn't give him the goal. It looked like it went off some guy's skate instead. So Penguins are in trouble, actually. Let's just jump right into it. They basically have lost 5 of their last 7. They did win 2 in a row, Arizona and at Montreal. The Montreal win was fun because, went to 12 rounds. I've never seen a 12-round shootout before. So that was kind of fun. And actually, after about the sixth player, you really start to worry that nobody's ever going to score.
Right.
Because the goalie
Who was the guy who scored? He's not a very well-known player.
Right. In fact, they sent him down to the minors today.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Harkins.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in fact, when he went to go in, I was like, "There's no way he's scoring," and then he scored, and it was over. So what's wrong with the Penguins right now? I think honestly, a lot of their problems stem from the power play. I know that I beat this home way too much. The other thing that I think that and it seems like they're fixing it with the power play goal. That'll be 3 power play goals. Honestly, a lot of their problems. What was that?
Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, technical director. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I love hearing myself in my own ears, but
even when there's nothing
a little
wrong,
ridiculous.
he finds a way to make something wrong.
If there's nothing wrong, I'll make it wrong. Yeah. No, our IG froze, so I checked on the phone and I didn't realize the phone was hooked into the Bluetooth. So
well, there
just
you go.
another Manic Monday. All right, go ahead.
Another Manic Monday. I love that song. I do love me some Bengals. By the way, what do you think the Bengals' favorite song
I don't have
is?
to run day.
You think it was that song?
I think most groups hate the songs that they sing after.
Really?
After a little
Susanna Hoffs? Who wasn't in love with Susanna Hoffs when they were growing up?
We all were.
We all were. Come on, let's face it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about being in love with somebody, not do they like the music they play. Go ahead. Keep going.
Well, I guess that's another conversation for another day.
Right.
So the other thing that the Penguins have to figure out is they have to figure out how to win a game without scoring 4 goals. They've only won 3 games when they score 3 goals or less all season, and that's just not sustainable for getting points. And that's the bottom line with this team. So they got to find a way to win the 2-1 games, the 3-2 games. I know, they get the shutout games, and those are great, and they haven't had one in a while. But the goaltending's been good. They actually have the second, I think it's the tied for 3rd lowest goals against in the Eastern Conference. So I don't think that defense is necessarily their problem. They're saying that the Penguins can't play defense. It's not that. It's just that they just go through this. They go through the zone where they just can't score goals. And I don't know why, but they need to be more consistent. It probably has more to do with the third line scoring, the 3rd and 4th line scoring, the secondary scoring, as we like to say on the Hockey Jesus podcast. And I think once they get that figured out, and by the way, Raquel is playing tonight. He's playing up on the top line, and Puustinen, who should be playing up on the top line, is playing on the second line. He's already looked great tonight. I'm kind of cursory watching it as we're doing the show, and that allows the third line to get back together. And the third line, once again, Drew O'Connor, Lars Eller, and whoever else they want to put on the other side. I think the Penguins actually, I know everybody's saying they're not a playoff team. They're not going to make the playoffs now. Look, they need to get 4 points to get into the bunch, which everybody's in. From the Flyers the whole way down to the Devils, they're separated by like 4 points. And there are like 4 teams in there. Carolina, the Devils, the Flyers, and I'm missing a team in there. It's not the Islanders. But there's another team, Carolina. Did I say Carolina? Anyway,
yeah.
So if they can get into that bunch, then basically 2 of those teams are going to make it, and 2 of those teams are not going to make it. And that's where the Penguins need to get to. But in order to do that, they probably need to win like 2 in a row, maybe 3 in a row. And they've got their next 4 of their 6 at home. This is where I think they need to make it up before the end of the year. Doesn't quite get them to the midway point. They'll only be at game 35 by the end of the year, but you're getting pretty close. So you want to be in that lump of teams that I was talking about by the time the midway point comes, and that'll be in early January. Questions?
I feel like I just realized that the professor asked me if I had any questions while my eyes were closed. Jeff, my buddy from York, has a great York County question. Only people from York would think about it this way. Who would win between the Steelers and the Penguins?
Well, let's see. The Steelers.
I don't
Penguins.
Yeah,
know.
the Penguins would
Sure.
win.
You
Yeah,
think
Sure.
so?
yeah. They could just take off their skate and hit them in the jugular. It would be over.
Mhm.
That's.
I like
wonder
Sidney
if,
Crosby at running back. And I
Yeah,
think
I do
that
too.
I think
And I-
Sid would be a quarterback. He would. There's no way he would be a running back.
I,
He'd
I,
have
li- I like I like Jari at kicker.
Yeah,
Jari.
definitely.
Jari kicker. Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets to wear his pads too.
All right, fellas.
Jari versus
It's
Paz.
game time for the Grand Schwalbini. I
All
will
right,
leave
sign
the
it
two
off,
of you
Grand
to
Schwalbini.
finish the show.
Okay, we
and
will
I
Go
sink
see you
the
next
ship.
time.
We will sink the ship. Go Birds.
Sink the ship.